Sam, how are you? First of all, a pleasure to meet you.
Pretty good, Tony. How you doing today?
I am doing great. I'm honored, and it's a privilege just to be in the same universe with you.
And where are you, Tony?
I'm in Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City,
Yeah,
close to Sundance, huh?
yeah, not this year as much,
I know. It's virtual,
but
virtual.
you're no stranger to being in Park City.
Oh no, been there many times.
What drives you to do documentaries? That is the body of your work. What about documentary work keeps you interested?
The idea that when you dig into a documentary, you can find you can unearth new truths about people and situations and histories. And it's amazing that, when I got into the film business, I thought I wanted to just be a feature film editor on narrative films. But when I was introduced to the documentary world, it was like Pandora's box opened up, Tony. And it was like all of a sudden, all of these magical things came out of this box. And I had the ability to shape a narrative and a story with these like real life people and real life situations that could be different, and unexpected and engaging. And from the age of 23, Tony, up until this tender age that I am at now, I fell in love deeply with the documentary.
And you are quite a storyteller as well. I'm always interested in what Sam Pollard is doing, and MLK FBI. You talk about panning for gold in the truth. We find out what a son of a bitch J. Edgar Hoover was.
Yeah, but what's amazing though, and as you remember in the film, when they took a poll in the mid 60s, J. Edgar Hoover was more popular than Dr. King. You know, Dr. King to many people was a threat.
Yeah.
And for J. Edgar Hoover, he was leading the charge. He was leading the charge, basically saying we have to discredit, we have to destroy this man's reputation because he is changing what America, the way I see America, which was frightening to many people, not just J. Edgar Hoover. So, it's I grew up in that period, and I saw at that time J. Edgar Hoover as a hero.
Yeah.
I had grown up watching these movies, G-Men with Jimmy Cagney, Big Jim McLean with John Wayne, the FBI story, Jimmy Stewart. The FBI were heroic. They were going to, vanquish John Dillinger. They're going to vanquish communism. Man, if I had known how deeply and flawed they were. Woof.
Well, we're still doing it today. We've got this kind of weird, I don't know, it's almost a propaganda when it comes to government agencies. And Hollywood still falls into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, the weird thing is, Tony, is that when it's in some ways when Trump came into office and he denigrated the FBI so much, I started to think, maybe the FBI isn't so bad because as Trump is trying to destroy them, maybe they aren't so bad. But I know realistically that many of the things that the FBI was doing in the 60s with COINTELPRO and having informants,
Yeah,
they're still doing today.
And they're feeding this other line financially. I mean, it's just been this kind of absurd abuse of power, from the 50s and even the 40s till now. It still goes on.
Oh yeah, it continues. I mean, they're our national police force, and they will go to any lengths to make sure they keep us, under control. I mean, we live in the scary times, man. We
Yeah,
live in the
and
scary
it's
times.
it's not getting any less frightening.
No,
Tell me a little bit of what you've discovered in the process of making MLK FBI.
the thing that I think was a real eye opener to me was realizing the lengths the FBI would go to destroy King. I mean, it wasn't bad enough that they were trying to connect him to the Communist Party. It was the fact that they would take his real personal life and use that as fodder to try to destroy him. I mean, that's pretty low to me.
Yeah.
So when Comey says this was the darkest period in the FBI, on one hand, I think he was right on one level, but and I know that things always will come up that will probably say to us there's other darker periods in the legacy, in the history of the FBI.
No, in those moments where the FBI sent, the tapes to Coretta and
And the
Martin too. I
letter,
mean, that's just so low to
yeah,
do to a man.
that's absolutely horrific. I mean, basically to suggest to Dr. King that maybe he should kill himself, to send a tape, an audio tape to his wife, supposedly had him having an affair with a woman. This is pretty low. You're absolutely right.
And to balance that out, keep in mind that at the same time, Kennedy was having affairs, in the White House. They bent over backwards to hide that.
Yeah, we had a different press back then.
You're doing a new movie called Counting the Ballots. How is that coming?
That one is a mistake on my IMDb page. I'm going to get somebody to take that off the page today. Danielle,
Maybe it's prophetic. Maybe you should do it.
I did do a film. I did edit a film about gerrymandering a few years ago, which is a very unusual film, and gave me some real insight in how the states are gerrymandered, and how people are disenfranchised.
Mm.
Yeah.
And in looking back at some of the films and television series, I mean, I loved Rod Serling, and he used a lot of actors of color and Latinos and blacks, and there was this evolution, and it came from there. It came from film and television.
That's right. It did. I mean, that's when I first recognized Sidney Poitier and Dorothy Dandridge and Harry Belafonte and Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee. It all came out of TV. Diane Carroll. Yeah.
Della Reese.
Della Reese. Oh, yeah, man.
With music and television and film, that's our first, that's how society learns, I think.
Well, let's hope so, man. Let's hope so. Let's hope there's still some learning. There's obviously lots of learning still to do in America.
Where do we find MLK FBI?
And many platforms on the IFC. So you'll be able to find it and tell all your friends they should watch it.
And is there a documentary that you have done prior to this one that you're extremely proud of and people should see?
Sammy Davis Jr., I've Got to Be Me.
Oh.
I'm very proud of that film. That one was a real, pleasure to do. Again, it was a film that with a subject I grew up with. So, it's interesting. All these films I'm doing lately really are touching back on my youth.
Yeah. And we'll catch MLK FBI. Sam, what a great pleasure to talk to you.
Wonderful talking to you too, Tony. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.